that there's this reinforcement of the 4-year requirement to obli-serve post being to do the transfer of educational benefits. So you have to have 6 years in the Navy, and then you obli-serve another 4 years to use those benefits. It's going to give you a total of 10 years of aggregate service that you can do either CELRES or active duty.
Wait a minute.
6 years active duty.
Tell me more.
Do 6 years of active duty, right? And do another 4 years of active duty. Or do 6 years of active duty, do your transfer eligibility benefits before getting off active duty, and without a break in service, sign up for 4 years of CELRES. So you can do either or. That's for those members who are having both paths. But one of the other biggest changes is that you've got to do your transfer eligibility prior to 16 years. Now, this is kind of a shake-up for everybody, but the reality is that you had to do that 4 years of obligated service. That requirement came out in 2009,
right.
2010. And all of the loopholes were if you were going to be at higher tenure, if you were going to hit 30 years, and you couldn't obligate that 4-year service, that was done in 2013. So this is really just a reinforcement of what we have had. And I think there's a little bit of miseducation in the fleet, and we gotta get down to those bare bones basics, and our sailors gotta know what their career paths are and what are their benefits. If you know those two things, then you're gonna set yourself up for success, whether you're here for the long haul or you're here for a short distance.
Absolutely. And so the other major change, I guess, would be starting July 12th of next year. Anyone who wants to transfer their benefits, right, can only do that at 16 years or before they hit 16 years. So gone are the days when you could be in the Navy for 20 years and try to transfer your benefits, right? It has to be done before you hit 16 years of total active service.
Yep.
Okay. So no last minute decisions
So you gotta everyone now has a year if you're over 16 years to do that, right? Because starting July 12th of next year, you're gonna have the 16 years is gonna be the cutoff.
Right, so is that affecting, because some of us signed up for the other one, the Montgomery, is that affecting any sort of transferring over to the post 9/11, or is that still the same?
Not at all. You're gonna go through MilConnect, do your election to transfer to post 9/11. Once that's complete and approved, you go in to submit the transfer eligibility benefit. And this is the key point. You gotta go back and follow up and check and make sure that that was approved, because we've definitely seen some members who had received notification that it wasn't approved, something was missing, like the page 13, which is really important. And then they wait years without knowing. They just assumed it was approved, and now they think it might be too late. I think it's also important to note that if you are later in the game, if you're 2 years from what your higher tenure gate is or your retirement requirement, put in the request, and put in a request to your community manager for a waiver to stay in longer. We are a very growing Navy.
We are.
Need all of these educated individuals. It never hurts to ask. Worst case scenario, they're gonna tell you no. Best case scenario, they say yes.
Right, and then we're approving higher tenure.
Waivers all over.
Much greater than I've seen in the past, not just for folks going to sea. So, there's a group of people, and I'm one of them, who say that if you ask not, you have not because you ask not. So you ask the question, put the pressure on the system to see if there's something logical, because though there are brilliant people in Millington and up on Courthouse Road in Washington, D.C., which is where the headquarters are, there are still some ideas that come from the people that are closer to the problem.
I guess one of the unusual piece of the puzzle that I just learned from NC1 is that if you have your dependents, not your spouse, but your dependents like your kids and stuff like that, if they're using your GI Bill, then they're also eligible for the monthly housing allowance that comes with your post 9/11 GI Bill. So that's
the book stipend,
and the book stipend, all of this stuff.
All that good stuff.
Cool.
But if your spouse uses it while you are on active duty, then the spouse will get the tuition benefit, but not the housing allowance benefit.
Well, that kind of makes sense, because they're supposed to be right there with you. If you have a grown kid, they could be in the States doing their thing while you're here in Italy, chilling. So
absolutely,
that makes sense.
And then the other thing to consider in terms of kind of that cross between Montgomery GI Bill and post 9/11 for those who haven't gone on to MilConnect and done the transfer like yourself is You know, let's say you don't have kids yet, but you're still doing some planning and you're going to school, and for whatever reason, you do need a little bit of extra money. You're gonna top up, so to speak. Post 9/11 uses the top-up program, and Post 9/11 works on a month-to-month. So your Post 9/11 is worth your tuition, it's worth your housing allowance, it's worth your book stipend. That's what 1 month of that Post 9/11 is worth. Your Montgomery GI Bill is a fixed rate. I think we're at about $48,000 total. Divide that up between 36 months, and that's your monthly allowance. But when you're on active duty and you use that, what they do is that they just pay you what it costs. So if one class is 250 credit hours, 3 credits, $750, then the money that you get in is $750. But the best part about that is that if it's a $1,700 a month allowance and they only paid you $750 for that semester, then that remaining chunk of change, that $950 that's left over, that becomes a day-to-day, and it goes on the back end. So you, instead of using 1 full month, used a partial month. So you'd have 35 and a half months left.
Yeah, so you can stretch it
Once
out.
you go to transfer to Post 9/11, any of those little straggler months that aren't full become full again.
Yeah, like rollover minutes. No more of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
one
no,
thing,
yeah,
you
go
have
ahead.
to make sure that if you're transferring your benefits to your dependents, meaning your spouse and your kids, they have to be enrolled in DEERS. That is 100%. You cannot have kids not enrolled in DEERS and your benefits transfer. It doesn't work. It has to be enrolled in DEERS.
As a child, and I will speak on that too because I have a non-adopted child that lives in my home, and he's classified as a ward in DEERS. So if you are working in adoption and that's something that you want to do
Great
to
point.
transfer to them, you've got to make sure that that's complete. And DEERS reads child, not ward, because it's for children and spouses. And another fun fact, by the way, is if you get divorced after you have transferred your Post 9/11 benefit to your current spouse, work it out in paperwork,
Yes.
because they retain the entitlement to what you have transferred them unless you revoke it.
Okay.
So that's another fun fact.
That gotta be done in DEERS also. You gotta put it to
Yep,
0
it's got to
months.
be in DEERS.
That's-
Through Mill Connect.
Get it? I
So
mean,
talk to your career counselors.